want to talk to you for a few moments about managing some of the stress and uncertainty of this difficult time. But first, I want to tell you a story. A couple days ago, I was in my garage lifting weights because, all the gyms are closed right now. And as I was lifting, I started to hear the sound of rain on the roof. And I suddenly realized that it was supposed to be a beautiful sunny day. So I ran outside and discovered that one of my sprinkler heads was busted and water was raining down on the roof of the garage. So I yelled for my wife Carol to come help me. She came outside, we shut the water off. I tried to reattach the little piece and quickly realized that I couldn't do it. So I asked Carol if she would give it a shot. She very kindly leaned down, tried to attach it, and she told me, I think it's busted. I don't think we can fix it. At which point I got very upset. I said, could you please just give it another look? I think it can probably be fixed. She said, no, it's broken. And it quickly exploded from there. Now look, I wish I could tell you that absent the stresses and uncertainty that surrounds us right now, it would have been easy. But the truth is that still would have been a tense encounter. I get way too uptight around home repair stuff. And it escalated and got much worse because of all the worries. I'm thinking to myself, the gardeners aren't allowed to come by because of the shelter-in-place order. We won't be able to water our front and all the stuff is going to die and then the house is going to fall apart and everything will be broken and ruined. It quickly goes to a catastrophic place because of all the uncertainty that surrounds us right now. So what I'm noticing in myself is that my body is programmed in a way that sometimes goes contrary to my deepest yearnings. We are well made to respond to an immediate stress. When something difficult or challenging occurs, we get wired with a jolt of energy, our minds become really focused on whatever's in front of us, and we have a very strong immediate response. However, when we're dealing with fear and uncertainty that lasts for weeks or months or maybe even years, our bodies do us a disservice. Our immediate physical response is a narrowing focus and a tremendous energy in the body with which there's nowhere to go. And in that case, stress and concern accumulates to a destructive degree, resulting in short triggers, anger, and fights. And the problem is worse, because our bodies are also designed to live together and to be touched. The book of Genesis teaches, Lo tov heyot adam levado. God observes it's not good for people to be alone. We need to be touched and held. When we are touched, it releases stress energy. When we're hugged, it counterbalances some of the accumulated energy and tension that goes in the body after a difficult day. And quarantine, particularly for those quarantined by themselves, there's no way to have that physical release that comes from just touch or being in the presence of another person. And even for those of us fortunate to be quarantined with people we love, there is still tension that accumulates and that we never release from those casual encounters or even deep friendships that right now are close to us. At the same time, our bodies are a great tool of holiness. Isaiah Horowitz in Shnei Luchot HaBrit points out that God gives us our body precisely to be a vessel to uncover the sacred. Our physicality is designed to help us be the kind of people that we strive towards. We're reading, or we read last Shabbat, Kedoshim, and it tells us what it means to become holy. And I've always been surprised. Kedoshim Tihiyu, it says, become holy, and it doesn't start, sit for 10 minutes every day in prayer, meditate all the time, acquire gratitude everywhere, engage in all these spiritual practices of separation, certainly don't watch too much reality TV, and Netflix is probably a bad idea. It says none of those things. Instead, Kedoshim tells us, keep God's Sabbaths, find ways to care for the poor, and look out for the most needy in your culture. In other words, the pathway towards holiness is finding time to take a breath and uncovering acts of service. Let me say that again. It's about taking a breath and uncovering acts of service. I believe that love is one of the most powerful tools to reorient our physicality towards the intention that we want over a day. Love is one of the most powerful tools that lets us overcome the stress reaction that accumulates over the course of the day and instead turn towards a day filled with compassion and caring. So I want to suggest to you the following meditation as the day begins. When you wake up, there's a few choices. What I found myself in the early days of this quarantine doing is I would get out of bed And very quickly, I would check the news. I would look at CNN and NBC and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, San Francisco Chronicle. I'd look at my email. I'd look at my Facebook. And within 15 minutes of waking up, I was a ball of stress and tension. I felt great urgency to get everything done right now and respond to the crisis of the day. And it was exhausting, and it left me with a short fuse, and it left me feeling overwhelmed and insufficient. And it even created in me negative feelings about myself. I wasn't going to be able to respond. The fear of what could happen, everything's going to fall apart about which I care. And what I've been trying to do recently is start my day a little bit differently. To get up, to take a few moments to orient my thoughts, to get myself ready for the day, then to engage in some prayer and gratitude, and then begin to confront some of the challenges in front of me. And so I suggest this. As you begin your day, bring to mind a person whom you really love. Think about what it is to be in their presence, what it feels like to offer them love or to receive love back from them. What are loving gestures perhaps that you've exchanged? Could be touch or hug, could be words or gestures. But really imagine the person in a full way. Even that imagination while we're separated has a physical impact on the body. It can release those stress concerns and orient us in more loving ways. And then remind yourself of self-love, that you are a person who matters. Remind yourself that you have things to contribute, that you have ways of being in service, that while you may not be enough for this moment, you do have things to offer, ways of caring and looking at those who are the most needy and bringing something good into the world. Remind yourself that you are worthy of love and of compassion. You know, the Shulchan Aruch asks us to begin each day with prayer. Shacharit, the morning service, should be one of the first things we do even before breakfast. And it's because our tradition wants to orient us towards love and gratitude as we begin our day. Our tradition understands that the way we sort of set and duck, the way we set ourselves for the day, will determine how we experience what's in front of us. Soloveitchik teaches that we all of us have shlichut. We all have a role to play from God. And he makes a funny observation. Moses, he said, had it easier because Moses knew what he was supposed to do. God told him. And the rest of us have to spend our whole lives figuring out in each moment what it is God's asking for us. And in the middle of an unprecedented epidemic where everything is new and strange and we have no idea what the future will hold, finding our purpose and mission is all the more difficult. When we worry about being enough for this moment, we will become frustrated and despair because we're not enough for this moment. But when we focus instead on how we can serve, what is our purpose given by God, then we begin to be motivated by purpose and meaning. And so I suggest that you also call to mind, what is it that I have to contribute today? How can I be of service or healing in the world in this difficult moment? Maybe there are grand things I can do, and maybe there are small, but anything counts as shlichut. If I make one phone call to one friend, I've engaged in an act of shlichut. If I give a little bit of money to Life Moves or one of the other wonderful charities around town, helping our most needy, I have done something important. If I make a no-sew blanket for those who need some warmth on cold nights on our streets, I have done an act of shlichut. There are so many ways to offer and to give of ourselves. To remind ourselves that we have service to offer is a way of inspiring mission and purpose. So look, we have more challenges in front of us and more uncertainty and more difficulty. But I want to suggest that by calling to mind people that we love and care about, by reminding ourselves that we are worthy of love and staying focused on the service we have to offer, how we can use our own self and bodies and physicality and mind is a way of restoring purpose and meaning at this difficult time. I wish you a week that can be filled with awareness of love, that can be filled with acts of caring offered towards others and received as well, so that we can manage this difficult time in partnership with God to bring about a real heaven on earth. Have a good week.